Okay, thank you, Susanna, very much. Welcome, everybody, to day 2 of the conference. The day today is organized by the Warburg Institute, and I'm represented here with Claudia Wedepohl. I'm Bill Sherman, the director of the Warburg. At the opening of this exhibition on September 3rd, I said that it felt like a miracle that it had happened at all. It was a very difficult project in logistical terms. It required enormous amounts of work by lots of people, but there were so many forces conspiring to prevent it from happening. It really felt almost providential that we were here in this building with all of these original materials brought from London and resurrected in this extraordinary display. Today, in some ways, or yesterday and today, also feels like a different kind of miracle, because when you have mobility of people, it's even harder. And we had some 6, I think, people from London able to travel, but really not knowing. The numbers, of course, in London for Corona are very bad at the moment, and we're expecting to be stuck here forever. So I hope, yeah, but it's been really, really lucky. So I want to thank whichever gods from the panels intervened on our behalf. It's hard to say if they were pagan or Christian or something else. But I also have to pray, especially today, to whichever gods are responsible for Zoom and electronic media, because we depend so heavily on it now, with today 2 different contributions coming from abroad via videos, so fingers crossed. Now, when we were planning the entire program for this collaboration with HKW, with Roberto and Axel, we knew that the conference program would be essential. Of course, the exhibition had to happen. That's first and foremost, but it was crucial to have some other component for getting people together around the atlas in its original reconstructed form. And I think that's probably for 2 reasons. The collaboration around this exhibition brought together working materials in a new way. It literally put the original materials from the atlas on a new backing and on a new footing, on a new hanging. And that in itself is an extremely important contribution for the future work of people interested in Warburg and in the Bilderatlas in particular. But we also felt, and it came across, I think, again yesterday in particular, maybe especially with Bernd's opening comments, that this provides a new platform for future work. It's partly looking back and recovering something from 1929, but it's very much about moving forward in a new way with this material. So a new platform for research, I think, has been laid down. And Philippe Despois, who I think is here, yes. Philippe, when you came out from seeing the atlas on Thursday night at dinner, you said, now the work begins. And I felt that very strongly. And I think this is why I'm so pleased, again, that we have the opportunity to gather together here in this room with all of you and the many people who are with us in spirit or will be remotely by watching the videos. Just very happy to start that work and, again, pledge the Warburg Institute's full interest and full mobilization of its resources for this next phase of work that we will pursue together. So today we wanted to bring together 2 quite different topics in our concentration on the atlas, and bringing together experts to speak about the 2 subjects that you saw on the screen a minute ago, which were about exhibitions and photography on the one hand, and about the idea of the atlas as workshop and A.B. Warburg's own interest in the artistic workshops of the Renaissance period as a model for the work he did. We heard yesterday from Roberto in particular about the idea of KBW as a laboratorium. And the laboratorium is such a useful message. Of course, we know that was Warburg's own word for what he was doing, but it's an unusual bringing together of course, book-based research or image-based research, of debate or seminar, symposium, but also of display. Display plays such a crucial role in the work of the KBW and the work of the Warburg Circle. And what I want to set you up with today is to understand how that continues for several decades after the move to London. And that's some of the main topics we'll hear about in the morning and early afternoon. But I also want to say again, it's something that we at the Institute in London are very mindful of today, because we are just starting a building project that will renovate the Woburn Square, the London home of the Institute since 1958. But we will create our own gallery space for the first time, because we do not have the ability to show. We'll never have 1,000 square meters. We'll never be able to show what you can do in a place like this. But it will be a laboratory for display again. And I very much look forward to it. And I use this historical meditation that our colleagues will be presenting for us today to inform the work that we will be doing together in the Institute. And Claudia will say a little bit more about the workshop idea.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I'm Claudia Wedepohl. I'm the Institute's archivist, already introduced by Bill. Yeah, just sort of representing the sessions of today. The first is on exhibitions, and Bill said exactly what the ideas behind it are, that we wanted to sort of expand a little bit on this idea of the atlas and the practices and method. And there's laboratory, laboratorium, and there's workshop, Werkstatt. Both words, metaphors, actually often used metaphorically by Warburg himself. So in the second session, a slightly shorter session of the afternoon, we will look back, or we take the workshop as our keyword, as our leitmotif, and look back to a little bit, so go back a little bit to Warburg's own practices and how the atlas was really, well, a laboratory or a workshop for himself. We've taken, as a moment in time and as a very important chapter leading towards the atlas, his big lecture, his last public lecture, so there's also the element of speaking publicly, having the collaboration of an international community, not just the sort of closed group of his collaborators at home. So inviting them at the Bibliotheca Hertziana in January 1929, Warburg's last public lecture, looking at the documents and the possible content of that lecture. And we also go back to another case to have the unfinished chapter, I call it unfinished, on Luther and the Reformation. So the last paper will address something which Warburg probably grappled with until the end and which never made it as a materialized series of panels or panel itself in the last version of the atlas. So that was the idea of today, to have these, to address just seeing the atlas reconstructed in the big hall there, but we are going to address a little bit more of the sort of movements and practices behind it.
Excellent. And we just quickly, before we open the first session, we both also, of course, have to do a bit of thanking. And I, of course, want to thank our hosts here today, but also our extraordinary collaborators and enablers. Bernd Scherer, Agnes Wegner in particular here at HKW have been fantastically helpful and really believed in the project from the beginning, as we did. Roberto and Axel, who are the project from the beginning, but it goes back in time, which was an extraordinary collaboration, and having them in our photo collection for months with, I must single out Lorenza Guy, who's here in a different capacity today to help us with the moderation of this very strange method of asking questions. But it worked more or less yesterday, so I'm sure it will work today. But Lorenza, thank you again for all of your research assistance on the project and for finding the beginning of the panel original object. So again, Roberto, and in absentia, Axel as well. Where? There. Axel.
Right there.
I don't. Good to have.
Window.
Oh yeah. Oh, great. And then also, above all, of course, Claudia who looks after all the material and worked so hard on this project as kind of an extra job for a while, but it was worth it. And Claudia, you.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
few,
And
yeah.
I extend my thanks, or our thanks, also to the team at the HKW, with whom I've been working very closely, collaborating very closely over many months, and in a very sort of close succession of emails and phone calls. First of all, Susanne Förster, sitting here and half moderating yesterday. She worked tirelessly, really, to coordinate everything, to coordinate London and Berlin, and really make this wonderful event happen. And I also need to extend my own thanks to Lorenzo, who has been, I think, become an expert in her own right on Warburg and the Atlas in the meantime, and she was also assisting me in London, and it was a great help, because we're a small institution with not that much staff, but we managed, and we're very pleased to see it all coming together and sort of as a last public event have this nice conference holding today and having our day today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I should also repeat to those who haven't got it that the questions have to be emailed to that address.
This email address.
Susanne already said it, but who wasn't here yesterday, it worked very well. They're going to be read out, and we will have a lively discussion. So thank you all.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks, Claudia.